I want to say good morning to Erin Walsh. She is a teacher in the social studies department here at Canby High School and an integral part of getting the Economic Summit going in Canby. So maybe just to start off with, tell me a little bit about when you started and why and how.
So about 5 years ago, I went to an economics conference for social studies teachers and learned about this International Economic Summit program through a representative of the Federal Reserve. And it sounded interesting to me because I have Model United Nations background, and it sounded like something that instead of a small group of students participating in, like Model United Nations, we could get an entire class of students, our seniors, to participate in something that looked at issues globally. And the economy is something that many people do not feel comfortable discussing, don't know the vocabulary, don't understand how things work, and this seemed to be the perfect opportunity to do so.
So when the students are preparing for their country, they're choosing a focus on a country. Is that their choice? I mean, do they, or do we get to assign?
Good question. Good question. So one of the good parts about the training that Ms. Isabel Walker and Mr. Jackson and I went through is that we participated in this just as the students would. And so we represented different countries from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and so we can help figure out who would be best suited with different countries. Some are more difficult than others, so students do not get to choose. And we have every economics class, every term participating. So what we try to do is mix up within our classrooms countries from different geographic points from all over the world and from different levels of economy from all over the world. So that's our primary goal. And so we don't allow students to choose for that reason.
Well, Mr. Jax told me that this was the largest economic summit you've ever held. I could tell from past years that this has gone huge. You'd almost say viral, but not. So how is that it's growing?
Sit down, please. It's very helpful.
How is it that it has grown to this level compared to the past?
Some of it is just the number of students that we have in a term. And this term, the way the schedule works, we had 5 classes. Classes are bigger, and more students want to work by themselves than with partners, which is interesting. So with those 3 things, we have found that the summit has become bigger, but students are rising to the occasion.
So one last question.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best value for the kids? What did they really get out of this that really pushes them forward?
It's not just one thing, because this covers so many different areas of social studies. They learn geography, they learn economic principles and then apply them. They understand better how globalization works and how they fit into this. They understand how supply and demand can have an impact on different world economies. They understand how geographically, where a country sits on the continent impacts geography, how government impacts their economy. So they start to see the interconnectedness of all of these things, that it's not just one isolated component, geography, economics, government, that you really have to take a look at all of it to understand why a country is or is not doing well. And then how do you go about improving the standard of living for people? That's the primary goal.
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations. What year is this?
5.
5 years. It's amazing. Good job. Thank you, Erin.
Hello, I'm here at Canby High School. I'm with Zach and
Jake.
Now, can you explain to me the Economic Summit in your own words, and it's just a short phrase?
I would say that it's an activity that a bunch of students had to do where they represent a country and try to manage the economy of that country.
Did you find it difficult?
It was difficult getting it organized and kind of getting all our information together. Then we had to form alliances, do trades and stuff like that. So we had to do a lot of work, but it was especially difficult. It just took a lot of effort.
Did you guys notice that were there politics involved in this, to where it was a concern to you in the way of trading with the other alliances?
Oh, definitely. There's so much organization. You have to work with other people. You have to make sure that you trade what they want and then also what you want in return. So there's a lot of like politics that you have to discuss with people and try to come to a compromise in order to get the best deal.
Have you ever run into a situation to where it was a difficult situation in order to get the trade?
Yeah, because after a while, countries tend to run out of resources. Resources you plan on acquiring from them. Maybe say you have 5 raw materials you want to get from Japan, but they already trade those, like 3 of those to another country. So then you have a problem getting those remaining raw materials that you want, or you don't have enough to export to a country, and it causes problems in your alliances.
So, is there an issue with money? Is there money being exchanged during this trade alliance with any other countries? In the way of borrowing?
We don't borrow money, but we do buy foreign aid vouchers, and we give that money to a third world country that needs it.
Your take on that?
I'd have to agree. If you want, there's the option of trading money, maybe in exchange for an extra export. Like if you give, say, 2 levkos, which is one of the currencies, they might give you another resource, and then they have more money. But there's no real borrowing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. You two guys have it going for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are here at the Economic Summit for Canby High School, and we have 2 students here representing a country. We can only guess by their costumes, and we're going to ask them a few questions and hear about how they planned and put together their booth and what they're doing. So, tell us a little bit about how your focus and your country.
So our focus on our country is Greece. With a lot of the decorations that we did for our table and our costume, we decided to go with the ancient Greece type theme, and so that was our main focus there.
Okay. And how about the economic part of your Greece focus?
I don't know. What do you mean?
That's okay.
What
are your goods and
Our goods are we're trying to get some more science, technology type things. We got a lot of tourism and stuff, so we're trying to get rid of those. And is that what you mean?
Yeah, tourism was a hard thing that we're trying to get rid of, and so not a lot of people need it. But
okay.
we have a lot of it, so.
So I caught you guys out wandering around, and you have a little strategic plan form here.
Yeah.
So what are you doing as you're looking at all the other countries, and what are you doing with it when you're talking to the different people?
Well, we have some good ideas of what our trade alliances are going to look like already. Before the summit, we've talked to some of our friends and stuff, and so we've kind of pre-planned some trades. We're trying to do most of our trades in our alliances instead of outside of our alliances because you have to pay a tariff for that. But other than that, just getting a little step ahead on the game.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys get back to your trading and your negotiating and having fun. And thank you for sharing your time. And you know what we didn't do? We didn't get your name. All we need is your first name.
Timmy.
I'm Austin.
Thank you for your time. Have fun.
Hello, I'm Greg, and I'm here with representatives from Mexico. Can I get your name?
Hola, me llamo Elia.
Me llamo Jeremy.
Okay. Now, today we're here at the Economic Summit over at Canby High School. And can you tell me a little bit about the summit and what your job is or your duty is today?
Okay, so we have spent a few weeks now representing this country. We've been doing research about how their country works and what's happening in their country right now. And our job is to purchase projects and trade with countries to better the living style in Mexico.
Have you had any difficulties in the trading portion or receiving any other benefits or resources from other countries?
Well, I think the hardest part so far has just been planning it, because a lot of it up to this is planning it, and everybody who's done it before us has told us that even if you do plan it way in advance, a lot of the times you run into road bumps, speed bumps, I don't know. But it's been a struggle to plan it and everything, but I think once we get it going, it'll run pretty smoothly. So. Now,
does this open up your eyes to see the world in a different way after studying this and getting into the depths of moving resources?
Honestly, it does, because I feel like just looking at all these country rankings compared to the United States, I knew that we were like pretty well off, but compared to all these other countries, it's crazy to know how much like better off we are here.
Did you notice that some of the countries are suffering due to the lack of resources?
I didn't personally notice that, but I did notice a big difference in from what I thought. So like a lot of the countries were worse off than I thought, and a lot of them were better off than I thought. And I think that can do with resources, or that can do with their trading policies, or their government, or the security of their country. So.
Now, how important is economics in our world today?
I think it's really important for everybody to know a little bit, at least, about economics, because pretty much everything we do is based on 6 economic principles, which we learned in class, but I can't remember right now off the top of my head. So it is good for everybody to know a little bit about economics, and this summit really helps give you more of a global perspective of that. So.
And how about yourself?
I think so. It makes us like, I don't know, this has really made me realize how this works in the world, because it's like the world trade simulation, and that like all these countries have to go through this, and I was super stressed out, and we're just doing it with our class, and just the fact that they have to do this over the whole world, and that's crazy.
You know, you guys have done a great job, so I want to thank you very much for your time and continue on with the good work.
All right, thank you.
Bye now.
Hi, I'm here with Brianna, and she's representing the country France. So we want to talk to her a little bit about, how this has been to get ready and prepared and to barter and to trade and do all the things that she's been doing. So what was your biggest challenge with putting this together?
It's just like so much new information of stuff I've never in my life even had to think of before. Like, I have never needed to know how many chemicals, different kinds, and how much France exports and imports in my entire life. I've never needed to know that. And so it's a lot of just little things. It's not, you don't have to think, it's the big picture, but also like, how much food are we going to import? Like, how do we get rid of all of our capital goods? And like, do we need cars? I don't know.
So the perception that you had of France before you started this has shifted, maybe.
Yeah, it's different than I expected, because I have a really narrow like mindset and view of the world just from living in the US, and seeing France is interesting because they have like, when you see France, you see a lot of like, you see wine and cheese and art, and that's what I've always seen, and I see berets and mustaches, and it's very stereotypical. And they have they're a lot like the US, but a lot different. They manufacture a lot of cars. But it's funny because their exports are the same as their imports. So they get chemicals in cars and machinery, and they also export cars and chemicals and machinery. And I was expecting more cheese and wine, I think.
Well, that makes sense, since what, like you said,
Yeah,
in the United
my
States, we kind of have all this perception, and they were kind of the middle of everything. So,
Yeah.
So what was the biggest challenge then for you in preparation?
Oh gosh, well it's funny, I thought the poster would be the hardest, but I do a lot of art, and so that was actually not that hard. It only took a few hours, and pictures, I just put a lot of pictures on. I think the hardest part was just like figuring out like my alliances, who am I going to trade with, how are they going to trade, and I'm very organized, at the same time I'm like super clustered, like my head is just everywhere. And so it was just hard to like figure out the little things, and like, who am I going to get my food from, and who am I going to give all of my like military goods to? And the little things were really complicated.
So you talked about your alliances. So when did you set those up? Were you working on that before today? So talk about the pre-work that you had to do to get to this point.
So a lot of it was done in class. We're like one of the top 5 countries. France is one of the hardest ones. We had a lot of trades to do. And so I'm really good friends with the guy who's in charge of Germany, which is the hardest in the summit. He has 53 trades versus our 40. And so we had organized with them and the UK and Belgium, because we looked at our, we go through and figure out who we export with and who we import with the most. And then we talked to them and said, hey, you want to come chill with us? You want to trade all of with us? And we don't have any extra money to do tariffs, and so that was really helpful. So we talked to them ahead of time a lot. We had a big meeting after school on Monday. Like, probably 45 of us were in here talking about who we were going to trade with, getting everything organized ahead of time.
So that's more than the students in your classroom. You're actually functioning outside of your room.
Yeah, a few hours probably outside of the room. Just like, a lot of it was just complicated because people like, the 2 alliances had to be even, so everyone, your first alliance, you had to be the same first alliance, and that, we didn't know that at first, so that was like a huge mix-up that we dealt with yesterday. So that was stressful.
So what's your takeaway from this, just outside of what you're having to do today? for forever. You know,
Yeah.
it's something that you're going to live with.
It gave me a really unique perspective on like worldview, like seeing just like the problems of like, especially some of the countries in Africa have just like they need so much and they don't have a lot to give, and so they need more than they can make themselves and more than they can afford to take in. So the foreign aid vouchers are really helpful for them, and it was cool to see how they can manage to like develop and change with what we can give them. I thought that was really interesting.
So this was as much fun, though, for you
I
as it was
loved
a
it.
learning experience?
I'm a total history nerd. I want to be a history teacher, and so this was like really cool for me to get to do.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you
You've done a
very
great job, and
Yeah.
thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, bye-bye.
I'm Greg Perez once again, and I have two students here from Canby High School, and we're at the Economic Summit today. So, your name?
Carissa. Corey.
Corey. And Corey, can you tell me something about this class and what it's done for you? Okay.
We've learned a lot about all the countries, not just the specific one that we are researching. So it's really cool to learn about all of the countries in like a real world situation. And we've been doing a lot of government research for each country, so that's really nice to learn about.
What do you think this will do for you after doing all of this work?
It will help us understand like what the governments in each country do, because this kind of just gives us like a real life situation rather than just learning out of the book.
So this is more real life, and it's something that you experience, and you're engaging with other countries and negotiating. And what do you negotiate?
About different trades and what they're exporting and like what we import to trade and come out with an equal trade for trade situation.
So who can tell me what's lacking in your country that you're trying to get today?
We needed healthcare in our country, Spain. They have a really corrupt healthcare situation, so that was our long-term development project. And then we also needed education, more school supplies, and better, we needed better teachers and staff because they weren't very qualified. So that's what we really needed in our country.
So do politics play a lot in Spain on your negotiation? And
I would say so. Yeah, definitely.
can you elaborate on that? Are you running into bureaucracy, into roadblocks, and trying to get what you're trying to get here today?
For example, another of our long-term development projects was kind of helping the corruption of the governance. And so we needed a lot of financial services and information to help build that. So that could also tie into the huge politics part of it.
So where are you at today? Are you able to get what you're here to come for? You know, what you come here for?
Yeah, we got all of our long-term development projects, so that's out of the way. We just had the 3, and then we are just working on our imports and exports, making sure it's a balanced trade.
So what are you looking for in the way of imports, exports?
A little bit of everything. We need food. We're getting rid of machinery. We're giving that away. We need to get in raw materials. Yeah, lots of stuff. Yeah. Another example, like information services, financial services, business services, and also like semi-finished goods and kind of everything.
It looks like you've done a fantastic job here today, and I know you've learned a lot during this economic class, and I hope that you guys can take it with you in life.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you very much, both of you today, and appreciate all the work you've done.
Thank you.